Kristofer Allen Rommel. He's the mastermind behind Wireface in the beginning of 2011. How's it going, Rommel?
Good, Gruesome. How are you?
Good.
Thank you for having me on.
No problem. I came across this short film from Cindy Maples, and I did a review on it, and it has my utmost attention. It looks and feels like a beginning of something new. So.
Well, it was kind of our intention. So I'm glad we succeeded in that. It would be kind of crappy if people were like, yeah, so I saw the movie and I don't really care what happens next. So I'm glad that I'm glad the point of it kind of came across. So thank you. No, your review was excellent. I appreciate you taking a look at it first and foremost. I always make sure to thank people because there are a lot of independent films out there, and there's not time to watch them all. So I'm glad you took the 28 minutes to watch our short, and are interested to see what comes next.
No problem. I credit Cindy Maples for that. I knew she was in it, and we were talking in the interview, and well, as I were getting ready to schedule the interview, she mentioned it to me, so she sent me a link, so obviously I watched it right away. And one thing that I'm a big fan of is I'm a big fan of 80s horror. I grew up in the 80s slasher, the 80s serial killers and stuff, and like I explained it in Cindy's interview, is when you watch the short film, it reminds you of a Lifetime movie. You have the family drama, and then right at the end, I will say no more, then it turns into something masterful, if you get what I mean.
Yeah. No, it was I don't know if we were going for directly a Lifetime movie. I think some people, I guess some filmmakers may be like, a Lifetime movie, what are you talking about? Because the most things you see on Lifetime are, B movie stars from the 80s and some, psychopath drama. But, I take that as a compliment just because, for the most part, that's technically kind of what it is. And that's one of the problems that, we're facing with how do you actively promote it, because by telling the backstory of what will eventually happen in the feature film, it's really not, it's not a quote, it's not horror, it's not, there's some suspense to it, but it doesn't follow those, tried and true guidelines for the genre that the feature film will be. And, we took a chance on doing that, but the one thing we wanted to do was to give the main character, Xavier Paris, who eventually becomes the serial killer known as Wireface, we wanted to give him some better background, where a feature film, when you're dealing with 75 to 90 minutes, doesn't allow you to get in a whole lot to who the person is. Look at Friday the 13th, the classic horror films, Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street. You know a little bit about the Jason and Michael Myers and Freddy Krueger, but you don't get involved into their inner workings because there was never a quote-unquote prequel or what we're trying to do beforehand. It was just, here's the situation these people are in, they're coming back, they're killing people, and go. Now, when we do the feature film, there will be some aspect of that, but at least this way, if people want to know more, there's more for them to get into, there's more background, something that we probably wouldn't have time to do in the feature film, but we just wanted to make sure, that people understood that he just wasn't some, psycho that just snapped. There's actually a logical progression to his descent into madness.
Right. And listeners, when I said Lifetime movie, I don't mean that as boring. I don't know who all watches Lifetime movies, but what I mean, but what I mean is, I
don't imagine there's much crossover between your audience.
Yeah, right. So I had to make sure I clarify that. Once it's available, there is a link available that I'm going to be seeking out and finding reviewers to review it. But when you watch it, it's like he said, it's like leading up to him turning into the serial killer. It's what his life went through. That's what I mean by the Lifetime aspects. Not exactly a Lifetime movie, but it's just a good short film. I was blown away by it. It was different than what I've seen in short films, because most short films, it gets right into the heart of the story. Boom, it's over with. But what you did was clever, is you actually built this backstory for the character of Xavier Paris. So
Well,
that's the
one thing,
uniqueness.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll interrupt. That was one of the things we were trying to do. We looked at it from the standpoint of, one, I originally came up with the idea for Wireface when I was in 8th grade, and it's basically just sat around. I had a comic book friend, artist guy, and in the 8th grade, as much as you can be a comic book artist guy, he came up with some concepts, and I had the basic idea of what I wanted the guy to look like in the film, and then life happened, and I got into high school, and that was the last thing I really cared about. And then, fast forward X amount of years, not to give anything away, it was time to work on another film. And I had thought about this, and here in Kentucky, which is where I'm located, there are a lot of horror films independently being made. And without getting into anything that I'll get held to later, I'm not so much impressed with a lot. Some are okay with a lot of the quality of them. I'm like you. I grew up on 80s horror films that, right, wrong, or indifferent, and you can say what you want to going back and watching the original, Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and Halloween. They do stand up over time because there was something more to them than just how much blood and how many naked chicks can we have in a short amount of time. The body count, the higher it got, the higher it gets now, seemingly the quote-unquote better the films are. And I was like, well, the films that I remember, they at least had some sort of thought process. There was some sympathy, apathy towards the main character. You could at least understand their reasoning for revenge. Jason wanted to get back at the camp counselors. Freddy Krueger wanted to get back at the parents. So, I mean, there was some aspect of that.
Right.
But with this film, we wanted to, instead of treating it as a proof of concept to try to raise money for the feature films, I was like, well, what if we just take it, I have the idea for the feature film, that the script's done, but it's like, well, if we're going to investors and distributors to get money, instead of saying, creating a short trailer for a feature film, it's like, well, wouldn't it be a little more interesting to have a background story? So not only can people see what the character is like and get introduced to the characters in the film, but they can also see that, I'm not some, dumbass with, some camera going, hey, let's make a movie.
Yeah.
So at least when I go and ask them for thousands of dollars, they're like, well, maybe, we won't lose our ass by giving it to them. So, it kind of served both purposes with introducing the character and setting up a background story, which, this is the beginning, and after this, there's several other parts to the entire canon, as it were, before we even get into the feature film. So, I mean, it's a I hope everyone's following me out there, because it may sound convoluted and kind of hard to follow, but there's a lot that's involved with this total story that it's kind of hard for me to get into without rambling incoherently from time to time.
Yep. Well, listeners, if you're interested in checking it out, I've been posting the website address on my Facebook, but it's www.thewireface.com. You can go in there and check out some more stuff. It's just an interesting short prequel. That's what I call it. And anybody who watches it, if they're a diehard horror fan, now when I say that, if they're, like I've talked before, if they're into that, serial killer like Michael Myers and Freddy and Jason and so forth, when they watch this, it's going to leave them wanting more. So check it out. I mean, it's going to be something special. That's all I'm going to say. Is it's very unique in what you see at the end. I'm not going to go in detail about it because I don't want to ruin it. But do you want to give the listeners an idea roughly when it's going to be available?
Well, let me break down the parts. This short film tells the beginning story. There are currently 15 webisodes on the internet that tell the story of what happens after this short film, 2 years after the short film takes place. And then there's a graphic novel that'll be released. A short comic book prequel comes out in October, and then there's a full graphic novel that comes out next year, and then we'll shoot the feature film. But the short film itself, we're premiering it next February. We're submitting it to film festivals now, which is why we just don't publish the link for everyone other than reviewers. I apologize. We have toyed with the idea of, as we're building buzz for it, because right now the webisodes on the internet kind of give you an idea of what happens. There's a serial killer, and kind of what happens after the fact. But we're going to probably open it up to have like one day, 24 hours. We'll promote the hell out of it, where anybody can go online, watch it, and then we'll shut it down just to build kind of some more interest. But it probably won't be available to the public at large until sometime next spring. We'll go to festivals and conventions, just because we don't want to give everything away. But if you're friends of a friend of a friend, and you like the fan page for on Facebook, we have a fan page. We'll keep people posted to when they can actually see it on their own.
Excellent. I was going to mention that. Yep, there is a Facebook page, Wireface. Feel free to like it. There's more information in there as well. So now, I gotta edit this part out.
You're fine.
But I see that the Facebook page has grown to 673 likes, so that's promising. I think the more.
We've been working on this since last April. So we've been working on it for over a year and a half. The part of the problem was there's without giving too much away, there's a mask element to the film, and we took a long time to get that right. And we started the Friends of a Friends. The featurette, we actually shot part of it last November, and then we shot the rest of it in March and April this year. So that took 3 days of shooting over 4 months essentially. So we've been, friends of friends of friends have been liking it, but we really haven't started promoting it out to the public at large. But we're happy with the progress we've received so far. We've just got the film listed on IMDb, the reviews are coming in from there. So it's positive. It's just as with anything, you want more than anything to get people to like it so they can see it and other people can see it. That's really what the bigger deal is. But if anybody out there has some sort of secret to Facebook fan pages to get more and more people to like them, you feel free to let me know, because they claim 750 million people are on Facebook, but good luck getting them to like and to see all your stuff.
Yeah, that's a lot of. Yeah, that's the hard part about fan pages, because a lot of when you make a fan page, a lot of people might have questions, but they don't want to write it for everybody to read. So there's really no way of contacting you directly. So that's the bad thing about Facebook pages. If they make it available that you can do personal messages on Facebook, on the pages, it'd be a lot better if Facebook would try and change that around. But that's the downfall. They
also changed the way you can invite people to Facebook, the fan pages. Like, we keep telling people to tell other people, and the webisodes that we release, they've gotten a lot of views through our YouTube channel, and they're on the website, but it's just you can't invite people to like your pages anymore, and then if you do, it doesn't really show up in their feeds and all this stuff. I don't want to go on too much about Facebook, but it's really difficult. That's why we'd rather people. We have a counter on our homepage of our website, and you can hear the cool music that our composer Matt Head came up with.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep a little more attention to that and our actual views of the videos through YouTube, because that means a little more to me that people actually took the time. It doesn't take much to say click I like it and then click I hide it. So it doesn't appear to like, oh, I'll just like it because you asked me to, but then I really don't care what you post.
Right.
So I'd rather have people go to the website and watch the movie, watch the videos, and then the movie, and that means a little more to me than the Facebook page.
Well, on my my review site at the bottom, I made a banner for the Wireface website. They click on there.
You are the man, Kristofer. I will say this: everyone listen, you are the man.
So
I've known you maybe less than a week officially, and you are the man.
But see, things that I like and things that I'm a part of, as far as being the pub guy, I try to promote as much as I can. So no problem. If I believe in something that I really enjoy, I do a full force promotion. So that's no problem.
Well, you are the man, once again.
But is there anything else you want to talk about? Anything that we forgot that might be interesting to the listeners?
Well, other than the fact, like I said, it took us, we've been working on it for a long time. We came up with the concept for a while. I do want to give a shout outs to all the performances as anyone that's listening that is an independent filmmaker out there knows, is that you can have high-end equipment and you can spend $1,000 on lighting and audio and locations and craft services and all that stuff, but when in the end it comes down to a decent script and the ability of your actors, and unfortunately when you're not in Hollywood or New York, you're not dealing with quote-unquote professionals, and I mean that in the term that they're not professional people to work with, but that's not all they do all the time. I thought it's, the greater response that we've been receiving from people that have been able to watch it is the quality of the performances. And as a director, that's my job, but at the same time, I didn't have to do, quote, that much directing with these people. Cindy did a great job. Josh did a great job.
Yep.
Renee, even Joe Chrysler, who plays Xavier's father, this was the first thing he has ever done. And, I get more compliments on him, and he's never acted before in his entire life. And, some of that is by luck. And, so I was very blessed to, have great people to work with. And, the composer, Matt Head, I found him on Twitter. I post, like, need some music for an independent film, because I came up with the theme music, but I'm not a composer, and I don't play one on TV.
Right.
So I posted something on Twitter, and a friend of his found it, and he emailed me. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. I've never met him before in my life, and he sent me his website, and I looked at it, and I was like, "You're awesome." And I whistled into a microphone what I wanted it to sound like. Just the first opening bars. If you go to the wireface.com website, that's the theme music, and I just whistled that to him, and he came up with this entire score based on that music. And his turnaround is awesome, and it was kind of one of those interesting things that the power of social media is. And I've worked with him on a couple other projects since then, so that's pretty cool. But all in all, it's just the crew, the camera work, the sound, everyone involved. It's it's one of those where I couldn't be happier with the project. It's as I tell people, filmmakers that want to make a movie, making the movie is pretty much the easier part of the whole process. Now it's getting the word out there. So anybody that likes it and watches it, and even if you don't like it, let me know what you don't like. 'Cause this is just a preview of a prequel for the feature film. So we'd like to take input in and see what people want for the feature film. We have it written and we're working on it, but anything that fans have to say, we're always appreciative and happy to listen.
Right. Well, that's one thing about the website. When you go on there, that music starts playing, and I think that music is so cool. It's just so.
Well, that's the one thing I took from without getting into my influences. I looked at it from the standpoint of why do the '80s horror movies work so well? Well, there's guys in masks. So yes, we do have a mask. A lot of that's merchandising, and I'm sorry, it's just, I'm a businessman as well as a filmmaker. I think a lot of filmmakers would do better if they were business people as well. So I mean, we have merchandising tie-ins to these things, to this movie that we're working on, and there's, a mask. You can even see the mask on the homepage. But the one thing I looked at, I was like, well, whether you've seen Halloween, whether you've seen, Friday the 13th, whether you've seen Hellraiser, whether you've seen any of the horror movies, you see Pinhead, you see Freddy Krueger, you see Jason, you know exactly what movie they're from.
Yep.
Whether you've seen it or not, you hear the Halloween score, you know exactly where that's from.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I didn't want to steal. So I mean, they look nothing alike, they sound nothing alike, any of those things.
Right.
I looked at it from a straight business standpoint of, we're here to sell. In the end, you're here to sell a product. The product is the film. You believe in the film, but how do you get that out to most people? So I was like, I need a theme song. So I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, and we're going to release a. If you watch the film, the theme music comes from a music box that is a big part of the film, and actually comes back in later in the feature film, and has a lot to do with the story as it progresses. So hopefully. People can appreciate that and don't, think I steal things and so on and so forth. There is a fine line between paying homage and actually stealing something. And I didn't steal anything. I'm just, taking what has been done before me and using it for my own projects. And anybody that doesn't appreciate and understand that, I have nothing to say to you.
Well, you heard the interview with Cindy Maples. And the thing about Cindy Maples that I find fascinating is, one, her voice, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And two, the way she looks and how she plays the mother role. I said it before. It reminds me of Patty Duke. Now, I don't know if you heard that before, but
Yeah.
I don't know if another actress could pull that role off as a mother. I mean, as far as the voice and how she did it, I don't know who else could have pulled that off. I mean, I'm sure somebody could, but for her playing the mother role in there and what she says and does, it's amazing. She made that.
I agree.
She made that role better than what she was supposed to, if that sounds right.
Yeah, no, and she does a very good, because her character, it'll make sense when people watch it. I mean, her character is a very, rural, southern, religious person who's basically been isolated from the world, has a husband, and there's some issues there, and then her kid, and, she borders on, being way super religious, but at the same time, there's definitely an edge to the character, which you can see it pop here and there, and it'll really come out in the film. And you're right, not everyone can play it, and we had a really difficult time until she came into audition. Was that this script for the story wasn't finished yet, so I actually had her read a scene from the feature film, which is very intense, and I knew ahead of time. I was like, if I can find somebody that can pull this off just in a cold read at an audition, I'll sign them up immediately, and she did phenomenal. And you mentioned Patty Duke, and I think you're right. There's a lot of it, and I think it's even more interesting the fact that she's, this is I think her only fourth or fifth project. And I'm not going to get into her age. She's a very youthful 29. So in order to make her look older throughout the film, we try to do the best we could, because she plays a wide range of ages from 30s all the way up to 60, late 60s. But she was able to pull that off, and I don't think a lot of people could do that. And we looked at using a younger actress or an older actress and making her younger, but Cindy fit all of the things we were looking for. That could be a believable character, because she's no offense, Rusty, and my wife who listens to this. I mean, she's a very attractive woman, and she does have that southern type of feel to her, which is kind of what we were looking for. And I mean, she pulled everything off beautifully, and it was a pleasure to work with her. She's a consummate professional, and I look forward to working with her again on the film.
Yep, I agree 100%. But like I said, I wish you the best. I think it's going to be successful. It will be successful. I mean, once these old timers like me that grew up in the 80s era will really dig this. It's a new, I can't remember what I posted on Facebook, a start of something beautiful, or I don't know how I put that, but it's going to be a good
Everyone
film.
Just go to his Facebook and you'll be able to look at it. Like I said, I think with the end, if people hang in there through the lifetime aspect of it, because this film is a drama more than it is a horror suspense movie, and there is a lot of elements of suspense. But and the preview screenings we've had, I mean, there are people that cried. I mean, there's some very emotional things, and I think it'll only ultimately lead to understanding of why this character eventually does what he does. And I question anybody that could say, well, because what question I wanted to put to people was, well, how would you react if X happened, and then Y happened, and then Z happened? I mean, we took him to the breaking point, so when you see him in the film, because the film will be a departure. The film we're treating as, when we shoot the film, it's going to be more along the lines of The Ring, more suspense, where, there's a main character in the film who plays a detective who's not in this short film. She'll come in later, because the feature film will take place 6 years later. And we want to treat it with more suspense, more to please those people that may look at this like, wow, this is just a drama, and it does have some suspense. It's like, well, it's keep in mind it's leading to something, and that the payoff at the end when we release everything, and the film comes out, and the graphic novel, and then follow up with the webisodes, that it's part of a larger piece. So as long as everyone can keep that understanding, I think they'll be happy by waiting and watching through it.
Yep. Fantastic. Well, I want to thank you for coming on.
No problem.
I'm going to be.
I appreciate it.
No problem. I'll obviously be on this. following it, promoting. Anything you need from me, just give me a ring. I have some ideas that I'm going to work on with some more of the promotion, publicist ideas to get it more promoted out there. So I will let you know. I'm game. This is very interesting to me. I love it, and I see something big coming down the road. So,
from your lips to people with money's ears, I guess.
Yeah. Well, you never know.
Oh, I know. I'm always happy with, at this point, happy with everything that we've been able to. We've gotten in contact with a lot of people like yourself, and everyone so far, the response has been better than I thought it could be. So, that's already starting off good. It'll end, and as with anything, you do the best you can and put it out there, and
Yep.
if people like it and they gravitate to it or don't, but at least in the end of the day, if you can say you did the best you did, that's all you can really hang your hat on.
You got it. All right. Well, Kristofer, thanks for coming on. Keep in touch, and I'll talk to you later. Thanks again.
Thanks,
See ya. Bye.
Gruesome Herzog, the voice of horror.